As we've been reporting, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. testified on Capitol Hill today. He denied limiting access to vaccines, but CBS News polling finds Americans do believe his policies have had an impact on vaccine availability. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto. Always a pleasure to be able to break down these figures with you, Anthony. How do Americans feel about Secretary Kennedy and his policies?
Well, start with what people think ought to be wide vaccine availability, whether or not they want one themselves, right? So I'll show you this number because it pertains to the COVID vaccine, which, of course, has been discussed a lot. But 3/4 say, yeah, the government policy should be make COVID vaccines available to those who want them. And, that's pretty typical for when you ask about vaccines generally. I'll come over here and tap this, and you'll see just in general, vaccines are widely seen to be more available or want to be more available. So you asked me about how that relates to HHS Secretary RFK Jr. Well, take a look at this. When people think that his policies are making vaccines less available, right, which is sort of the opposite way of what we're talking about there with more availability, he gets very high disapproval ratings. But when they think he isn't changing things or making them more available, he gets really high approval ratings. So that's how those vaccine views connect to their views on him.
And Anthony, I know you touched upon this just briefly right there, but in terms of how Americans support vaccines being widely available, do they support vaccines being available?
Yeah, let me show you this because it's interesting, too, in this very politicized moment, many say. I want to show you this breakdown. This is about whether the MMR vaccine, the government should encourage parents to vaccinate their children. And you look at this by party break. Almost all Dems, lots of independents, even a majority of Republicans. And I say that because, you do see relatively lower among Republicans, but it's not fully politicized. These breaks, a majority of every partisan stripe is saying they think the government ought to encourage parents to vaccinate. And that's kind of the larger context behind public opinion and what you see going on around those hearings and all the back and forth about it.
Which is always why it's important to be able to talk to you about how people are actually feeling about it. Always appreciate getting to chat with you. Anthony, thank you so much.
Thank you.